Good morning. I appreciate everybody being here today. This is an exciting week for our program, an opportunity to open up our 2014 season right here at home in High Point Solutions Stadium and welcome a Howard team, a very well-coached Howard team. Tremendous amount of respect for Coach Harrell and what I see on film. He's the only coach who's led them to a winning record since 2004. He's got pro playing experience. And I think what you see in his team is a true identity. I think they know what they want to be on offense. I think they know what they want to be on defense, and they know what they want to be on special teams. I think that's the sign of a well-coached team. I do have one announcement before I take questions. John Aiken, we'd like to congratulate John Aiken. He was named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. So that's really exciting for our program and our first opportunity to have that award bestowed on one of our players. So congratulations to John and really and everybody else on defense who helped him win that award. Questions?
What does it say? I guess last week, I know you said they were always going to both. Oh, sorry. I know you said they were always going to both play, but still, DeLon gets the job, Aiken doesn't, and then here's a guy who just lost his opportunity for a starting job, comes out and has the game that he had.
I think it's a tremendous testament to the selflessness of a football player, and I think that's critical as you go through the season. Everybody in the building has to put the team first. Coaches, players, staff, everybody has to work toward the greater good. It's the only way it works over the course of a season. And John had a great opportunity to do that in week one and took advantage of it. And when he had the opportunity, made plays, on special teams, on defense. And whether he was rewarded for it publicly like he was or not really is not the important thing. I think the important thing is the performance and the selflessness of the performance.
Coaches talk about the improvement from week 1 to week 2. What's going to be your biggest emphasis this week?
I think now that we've played, I'd like to see everybody get a little bit better at the details of what they do. The most encouraging thing to me when I watched the film was how much better I think we can be. I think we can be better up front on the offensive line. I think we can run block better. I think we can protect better. I think we can run our routes better. I think we can play with more precision on defense and in special teams. So, the kickoff return team jumps out to me as an area where I think we can make tremendous improvements. We're 1 or 2 blocks away from giving Janarian a legitimate chance to score, and that's important to me because I feel like given the right opportunity, he will score. But being 1 or 2 blocks away is like being miles away. Those blocks are critical.
Kyle, Paul James had a really good start to last season as well, and then he had the injury. Is durability something you're concerned about with him, being the workhorse?
It's not something I'm concerned about because last year's injury I didn't think had anything to do with any of his previous injuries. I thought it was just something he got tackled a certain way and he got injured, and that's what happens. So I don't have any concerns about that this year. I think Paul James is in excellent condition. He looks great. I know he said he could carry 25 times. I think he can carry 35 times. That's kind of been my goal when you got a guy who can dominate the game.
Follow up to that, what do you see as his chief strength as a running back?
I think it'd be hard for me to give you one. I think there's really 2 things that have allowed him to be as productive as he is. I think the first one is he's excellent with his offhand. He does a very good job of protecting himself from people who are trying to tackle him as he's running through the line of scrimmage. So you very rarely see the first guy get him in the line of scrimmage. And I think he's faster than people think. I think he runs better than people think. I think people see him as a big back, and people don't think of a big back having breakaway speed. But when you see him in the open field, you don't see him get caught very often.
Is he faster than last year?
I would hope so. Yeah, I would hope so, especially with the fact that he didn't go in the spring. So his legs should be a little bit fresher because of that. So I think he had a good summer program. We didn't time him, so I couldn't give you that. But I would hope he'd be a little bit faster just because he's a year older and a year stronger.
That said, Kyle, how about the holes he was running through, the ones created by Burton and the offensive line? I know you just said you want them to improve, but still a pretty impressive performance by those guys, I would think.
I thought it was a good start. Yeah, I really thought it was a good start. And now the important thing is that you're able to take success and handle success and build on it. Because if you don't want to, if you focus all your energy on what you did well, it's going to keep you from improving the things you didn't do well. So I'm pleased. I'm pleased with the production. I'm pleased with the performance, but I'm also pleased with the opportunity to get better.
Did you think that was was a product of the chemistry? We talked a lot about how you had 5 returning guys back, and I mean, I guess in the game, did you see the fact that they were veterans who had played together pay off?
I think anytime you bring back 5 guys who started as many games as they have as a group, it gives you an opportunity to play at a high level. But just the experience alone is not enough. It really has been an entire offseason of those guys spending a lot of time together. I think they've got an excellent chemistry. I don't think you can understate that. I've mentioned that a couple times about this team. This is a special team to me because I've watched them through an entire offseason and how much time they've spent building their relationships with each other. And they did it as a team, and they certainly did it as an offensive line.
Coach, Howard's coming off a pretty tough week 1 last week, 41-0 to Akron. Do you see this game as an opportunity to give some of the inexperienced players, some of the young players, some more playing time?
I don't. I don't ever look at it that way. I see it as a game that will begin 0-0, and we have to be ready to compete. I think when you look at the game film, Howard did some really good things, but here's what they didn't do. Here's what Akron did. Akron created big plays. Akron had 6 plays of 25 yards or more. And on defense, Akron did an excellent job of limiting big plays because Howard didn't have any of 25 yards or more. And I think that is ultimately what created the result that you saw. Now, when we play the game, we got to try to do the same things. We need to create some big plays on offense. They're very aggressive with what they do on defense. They play a 4-3. They have a 4-4 look built into their system. They will pressure you. They'll play some cover 0, meaning blitz with no safety over the top. So they're going to challenge you to make some plays one-on-one. Akron made those plays, but that doesn't guarantee us we'll make those plays. We got a practice week to make sure, given the opportunity, we'll make those plays.
Kyle, 2016, September 1st is a big day when it comes to 2016s and recruiting. Is this the start of this week exciting for you guys, and how much work have you already gotten to in the first 12 hours?
Yeah, it was great. I was here in the office till I think a little bit past 1:30, and then when I got home, because you send out your initial messages, finally you're allowed to communicate with some of these players, and then it's always a little surprising to me that they're up and they're waiting for them. So I got quite a few responses, and now you're responding to the responses because I didn't want them to think it was just a computer-generated message going out. So I ended up probably awake till about 2:30 in the morning responding to messages. Then I just tapped out. I said, okay, I'm going to bed. You should too. So most of the young people are on Twitter these days. There's still a couple that are still hanging on to Facebook, but those are the 2 main ones.
What can you say about Justin Goodwin and his transition from a productive offensive player last year to productive defensive back against Washington State?
I'm pleased with his progress. I think Justin knows he's got more progress to make. He was challenged against a very well-coached passing attack. We're going to play a lot of good offenses this year. I don't know that we'll be able to say we'll play against more well-coached passing attacks than what we saw in week 1. Coach Leach is as good as there is in the business at throwing and catching the football. So it was a tremendous challenge for Justin. The fact that he was able to be productive and get an interception in his first game, I think that's great. I think he looks at the film and he sees a lot of places where he could be better also, and I believe he will be.
We spent so much time talking about starters during training camp. Michael Burton said he didn't even mind not starting because it was the package that you employed. What does it say about him that he's selfless enough where he's doesn't care about not starting? And also, if you could comment on the mini Brian Leonard leap.
If you were building a football player, you'd build Michael Burton, and you'd love to build 100 of them because everything he does it to the best of his ability. Tremendous work ethic, really smart football player. Has always been a great leader by example, and now he's grown into being a little bit more of a vocal leader as he's gotten older in the program. He's got a tremendous skill set for a fullback. I don't know if he's got Brian's vertical just yet, so he might be worried. That'd be my only comment on the leap itself. But at the end of the day, it was effective. It got him over, so that was good. But Michael, again, much like I said with John before, a selfless football player. He's a pleasure to coach, and one of the best football players we have on our team.
Is his contribution to the run game somewhat overlooked in the sense of, I just remember a couple of years ago when he went down and you saw Juwan Jameson's numbers kind of start to go down. Is what he does kind of just like every fullback, it gets overlooked? And
Only by people who don't understand football, because it's not overlooked by the coaching staff. It's not overlooked by his teammates. I think maybe to a casual observer it might get overlooked, but what he does is not like other fullbacks. I don't know that there are any other fullbacks in the country that can do what Michael Burton does.
What do you mean by that? What are those things?
I think
that
he
does?
blocks at an elite level. I think he's got great hands. When he has the ball in his hands, he's an excellent runner, whether you hand it to him or throw it to him. So I think he's as complete a fullback as you can have.
Kyle, obviously you have a few more future games on your schedule with FCS teams, but obviously the Big Ten's goal is to eventually siphon those games out. What's your stance on it as a longtime FCS coach?
It's a conference decision. So we'll be supportive in scheduling because based on what the conference's decision is. When I was at that level, I always enjoyed those games. I see the positives that they can bring to those campuses. My only concern about it is if you have some BCS conferences that are doing it and some BCS conferences that are not doing it, I don't know how you have an equality of scheduling when you're trying to make your decisions at the end of the year. That'd be my concern, but it's a conference decision. We'll support the conference decision.
Kyle, obviously you have a pretty popular saying in your program for something like this, but coming off a big win and with a pretty big game in 2 weeks, will you do anything special to talk to the guys to make sure Howard has their attention, make sure this game doesn't get overlooked? The saying.
Every week you only get a chance to play one. And one of the things I talked to the team about Sunday night was you work an entire season and you're only guaranteed 12. If you do well enough in those 12, you get a 13th, a possible 14th, and a possible 15th now the way it's set up. But you're only guaranteed 12. So you really better cherish and enjoy each one of those game weeks and put all your focus on being 1-0. Whatever comes after that, we'll be here soon enough. But right now, we can only control what happens in this game.
This is going to be a tough follow-up to that answer, but just the idea that a fast start would mean a lot to this program. I mean, would it help the perception? Would it help recruiting? Would it help all the things that happen outside of this team does get off to a quick start?
I think winning helps everything. I think winning absolutely helps everything. So if we can get the job done this week and be 1-0 this week, we'll be off to a good start, as good a start as we can based on the number of games we played. And I think anytime you do that, it helps everything in the program. Your fan base gets more excited. The recruits get more excited. I don't ever want a recruit to make a decision just based on one game because their career here is going to be a lot more than just one game. It's going to be an academic experience. It's going to be a social experience. It's going to be a football experience. It's going to be a maturity experience in terms of how you grow up as a young person. So I don't ever want it to be based on one game, but I do think success and winning always helps those things.
Kyle, what kind of role do you see for Miles Nash now that he's back?
It'll be as big a role as he earns this week in practice. There's no doghouse in this program. He'll come back to practice this week as the backup Sam linebacker, and every opportunity he gets on Saturday, he'll earn on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Can he help on special teams too?
I think so. Yeah, I think he can help us on special teams.
Kyle, when you review film, does your staff keep track of yards after contact?
Sure.
How impressive has Paul been in that regard?
He's very good. Yeah, he's very good. I think the best example I could give you is that last run of the game. He goes into the end zone, really breaks a tackle at the second level, and then breaks a tackle right at the goal line. Really runs through two guys and into the end zone. And I don't know that either guy got a clean hit on him. And both were unblocked to the ball. So I know on defense, when you got a guy unblocked to the ball, you expect him to make the play. Well, they had two, and they didn't. So that's a sign of a good running back. And most of the good running attacks I've been a part of, when you get down in that tight red area, they run it in.
Coach, do you see a noticeable improvement even after that Week 1 game with Gary Nova?
I've seen improvement at every step of the way. I don't want to make any elaborate decisions based on one game, but I'm pleased with his progress. I think Gary made good decisions and played a good game for us last week, gave us opportunities to win. He managed the game in a way that put us in a position to win the game at the end, and we made the plays at the end to win the game. So I was pleased. But I don't believe in week-to-week momentum in football. This will be a new week, new schemes, new coverages, new personnel, and we need him to start the process and do it over again, and I have confidence that he will.
Game on your first Saturday as a Big Ten coach. Did you watch any of the games?
I didn't. I saw the scores. I saw some highlights at night. We were getting ready for Howard and getting ready for some of the recruiting things that come up, so I didn't have a chance to really sit and watch any of the games. Last night when I was waiting for midnight to roll around, I saw a couple of them, but they weren't Big Ten games, so I didn't see those, but I did see the scores.
How much easier is it for you guys to prepare now that you have a home game, you're not traveling, across the country?
For us, we get into a routine, on the road, at home. There are challenges that come up with being on the road and going across the country, but there are challenges and distractions that come up when you're home as well. There's more family attending the game. There's more things going on around the game here locally. Now school will start this week. That's a challenge. That's something else now that the players have to handle, the academic responsibilities. Up till now, they've been like pro football players. Now they have academic responsibilities that start today. So I think there's a routine we try to get into, and the more routine-driven we are, the better we handle those situations.
Kyle, you've always been an advocate of the Northeast brand of football. How pleasing was it to you to see the success you had on offense, playing mostly with your base personnel out there?
I was pleased. It looked like what I think a pro-style offense should look like. You saw the multiplicity of formations and personnel. We did play a majority of the game in 21 personnel, but it wasn't the only personnel group that we had used. I think we used 4 or 5 different personnel groups in the game. And I'm really pleased with the mix of run and play action and empty sets and bunch sets. I think there was a lot of things that defenses are going to have to defend.
What do you see out of Peoples as far as what he can do as being that change of pace back for?
I think he can be more than a change of pace back. That's what he was in that game. That was his role in that game. But I think going forward, he can be more than that. And I was really pleased because what I saw was everything that I had seen in spring and preseason. And I've always felt that the ultimate test is game day. You have to be able to perform on game day. So first you got to see a guy do it in a drill. Then you see him do it in a team drill. So then he does it in a scrimmage. Okay, that's great. And all those things give you the opportunity to get a chance in a game. And he did. And then he was able to continue to do that. And all the things that we saw in practice, we saw on game day. That was exciting to me. I think he has the ability to be the number one back. He has the ability to be a premier back. I don't think he's a change of pace guy for the rest of his career. I don't see that.
Kyle, with Peel and Patton still down on the injury report, I guess quickly your thoughts on the 2 guys who did step up, Simis and Grant, and then do you need more out of Agadosi, Terzilli, other guys if they're going to be out for, if they're still out?
I'm pleased with John and with Janarian. I thought they did a good job. I think they'll get more opportunities. As Leonte continues to perform, people are going to have to do more and more to try to keep him from performing, and that's going to open up the opportunities for those guys. I think what you said is accurate. Colton Agadosi and Drew Terzilli, they're healthier now. They were not really 100% going into the game, but they played. But now because we've had the extended week, I think they'll be a lot closer to 100% this week, and we'll hope to get more out of those guys.
Any other questions? Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.